Hi, right, good. There's some interesting research about when you should use stories in your presentations. See, researchers have known a couple of things for a long time. The first is that when it's hard to pin down the value on something, such as happiness and that kind of stuff, people respond to proportions more than to numbers. So, for example, they respond better to 5 out of 10 than to 50%. And the other thing they've known is that people are much more generous, much more responsible and respond better to identifiable problems than to statistical problems. So, for example, they'll give more money to an emergency appeal if they know somebody who's been affected rather than just reading about the numbers of people that have been affected. So building on from that, two researchers started to do some interesting research on something called sympathy and callousness, and what they did was give some people $5 to complete a survey. I mean, the $5 was irrelevant, it was just an excuse to get them to carry on, and then they asked people if they wanted to donate some, any or all of that $5 to a charity called Save the Children. The experiment bit of that, of course, is that some of the people had been given information about Save the Children's work in statistical terms, and some of them had been given stories, particularly stories about victims in which the victim was kind of like the person involved. And funnily enough, unsurprisingly, lots more people gave lots more money to the personal stuff than to the statistical stuff. The only time that didn't happen was when people were told in advance that that statistical trick existed. So it turns out that your presentations should try and engage the audience with personal stuff that they feel is personally relevant, not just statistically relevant, but you shouldn't warn them that that's what you're doing. Right, so for example, case studies might want to be couched in terms of what your audience mainly comprises of. Obviously, I'm not suggesting you lie, but just using appropriate case studies and stories that really engage with where the audience is and how the audience feels, obviously backed up by the real statistics and not made up, but use the statistics as a backup to the stories.